And in less than 45 minutes, the House Judiciary Committee will hold the first hearing of the new Congress on immigration. They'll look at a wide variety of ways to improve the current legal immigration system and enforcement of our laws. My next guest will be in that hearing. Virginia Congressman Randy Forbes is a Republican congressman. Good to see you. There are some of your colleagues on the Republican side in the House who are deeply concerned about primary challenges from Tea Party candidates who will label any effort of engaging a pathway to citizenship as amnesty. Can that be ironed out?
Well, Greg, you're going to always have different agendas and different individuals that bring things to the table when we're trying to get good policies, but that's not what our focus will be in the next 45 minutes when we begin this hearing. This is an important issue, and we need to have a fair hearing. We need to have everybody coming to the table, and we need to put those facts on. But there are some huge facts that have to be answered, and one of the big ones, Greg, that you don't hear talked about very much is that oftentimes this comes down to our priorities, and when the President talks about a pathway to citizenship, we do need to recognize there's currently a pathway to citizenship. He's putting priorities on individuals that haven't walked down that path, have tried to circumvent it.
Sure.
But one of the things that we're not hearing people talk about is the 5 million people that are currently on that pathway to citizenship that aren't seeing the end, some of them waiting an average of 7 years.
Sure.
Because of all the bureaucratic red tape. So we want to put all that on the table and hopefully get a good policy for the country.
Are Republicans losing a lot of the Hispanic vote because of your current positions?
Well, you know, you do the polling and you can do the focus groups, and again, people can focus on that, and sometimes you have to choose between short-term politics or whether you want good policies. But our focus, Greg, is going to be on trying to make sure we're getting good policies for the country, and that's what we have to ask. And there are some things that I hope that we'll see coming forward, and among those are how we get the quality workers, the people that are doing jobs that other people won't do in this country. How can we open doors for those individuals?
Sure.
That's not in this program. And again, our border security, which I think a lot of people are going to be asking some tough questions about that.
Well, border security has actually been beefed up considerably in the last 4 years. Deportations are about 400,000 a year, and a recent study found that the net flow into the United States is zero or negative. That was the Pew Hispanic Center. So actually, enforcement's been working pretty well, hasn't it?
Well, Greg, I haven't talked to too many people along the border that thinks that our current enforcement is working very, very well. We've seen, as you know, this administration actually shut down some of the border patrols that we have. We have seen them cut down some of those resources. And here's the question. I mean, we're going to have to ask, are we doing the things we need to get credibility to the American people that we're actually doing the border security we need to do? Because that's going to be a part and parcel of making sure that people are going to embrace immigration reform across the country.
The last time there was amnesty, 1986, Ronald Reagan signed it into law. He had no problem with the word amnesty, but it backfired for the following reason. There was no enforcement on employers hiring more illegals, and that lured millions and millions more into the United States. Why not simply have a useful and workable enforcement mechanism on employers? I was stunned to read that 90% of American employers don't even use E-Verify, and it has a nearly 100% accuracy.
Well, Greg, that's another thing that we'll want to be taking a hard look at. And you know, always there's something on both sides of that equation. There are some employers, obviously, that abuse that. We'll want to look at that. But also you hear from employers across the country the difficulty sometimes of them being able to verify whether they have appropriate employees. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything necessary to help employers be able to overcome those burdens and make sure that they are complying with the laws that we have in the country.
Would you be in favor of a short path to citizenship for children, but for adults who came here illegally, they would have to do, it would be a more arduous path. You're talking about they'd have to register, submit to a background check, pay taxes and penalties. Would that work? Would you vote for that?
Well, Greg, one of the reasons that we're having these hearings is to see what will work and what's the best approach forward. And one of the things that I would be in favor of is putting that on the table and getting the facts and the analysis for doing that. We haven't even begun this hearing in 45 minutes, and I think one of the things that's problematic is when you have people that draw lines in the sand and say they won't do this or they won't do that. I hope what we'll see with the Judiciary Committee is that we get a fair hearing of this. It's a balanced hearing. I believe that's what you'll find out. And and hopefully we'll get the answers to a lot of those questions coming out of this hearing.
Well, we look forward to watching it. Representative Randy Forbes of Virginia, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.